In this quality tutorial from SmartFoxServer, in association with Pivot's Labs, we will look at the structure of a multiplayer turn-based game. For this task, we will use the tic-tac-toe example project for Godot. You will need to download this example project from the Godot Asset Store and open it with the Godot editor. You can find the link in the description below. The Game Manager script calls the tic-tac-toe game script. This makes use of 4 SmartFox event handlers, including the user enter room and user exit room that update and show, or hide the player tags. The spectator to player handler updates the player tag in order to display the name of the new player, and also updates the game view based on the current game state. And the extension response event handler, which is the core of the client-side logic, receives the game updates from the room extension. In the case of this example, the extension response would contain start, state, stop, move, and over. The corresponding method would be called on the client. The game begins when 2 players send the ready command to the extension's ready handler on the server side. If the user who sent the request is a player and the supported number of players is reached, the handler calls the start game method on the extension's main class. The game start is signaled by the extension through the start response, dispatched to both players and spectators. On the client side, the extension response event handler calls the start game method, passing the custom parameters sent by the extension. In this example, this would be the user ID of the active player and the total wins of both player 1 and player 2 since they joined the room. This method also resets the game board, sets the game state to running, updating the view accordingly, and enables user interaction with the game board. Players now alternate in taking turns. In the case of this example, they click the board slots to place their marks. A custom event is fired by the board object and received by the Game Manager's onboard slot click listener. This method checks if the user is allowed to interact with the board, and if yes, sends the move command to the server. The server's move handler validates the move and sends move events back. When this is received on the client side, the execute move method switches the active player, shows the proper mark on the board, and updates the view according to the new game state. The validation on the server can be quite extensive to avoid cheating, hacking attempts, and more. In the tic-tac-toe example, we make sure the request contains the expected parameters, that the game is started, the move comes from the expected player, and the board coordinates are valid. Also, during the validation on the server, the victory condition is checked. The state of the game board determines if there's a winner or it's a tie, or if the game should continue. The logic can be seen here in the board JavaScript. If the game is ended, the ID of the winning player is sent to all users in the room with the over response identifier. In case of a tie, the ID is set to 0. On the client side, the over response causes the declare winner method to be called. Here the game state is updated to 1, lost or tie, according to the results sent by the server, and the board is disabled. If, at any time during the game, a user leaves the game, either by clicking the Leave Game button, which makes the client leave the room and switch back to the lobby scene, or by closing the game client, the server extension, through its onUserGone handler, detects that the user has left. If it is a player, the server sends the stop command to all users, including the remaining player and any spectators. It should be noted that we are using the tic-tac-toe as an example only. The same procedure can be used for other board games, card games, or turn-based battle games, 2D or 3D. In the case of each game, the game logic is reflected in the board code on the server and is called by the update game state method in the game extension. This would be modified to fit whatever your game design and logic requires. Using the concepts and techniques that you have now learnt, you can not only develop turn-based board games, but also 3D turn-based battle games. In the next tutorial, we will look at the development of a full multiplayer first- and third-person combat game with Godot and SmartFoxServer. Check out our online documentation at smartfoxserver.com. Here you will find resources and other tutorials, not only for Godot, but other supported client platforms. You will also find a detailed written tutorial for this video, as well as extensive documentation for the following tutorials in this series for Godot using SmartFoxServer.